What is the scariest story you know that is 100% true? 1. The Lake Nyos disaster. Lake Nyos is known for releasing clouds of invisible carbon dioxide gas that can silently smother everything within a 16-mile radius. In 1986, over 1,700 people and all their livestock tragically lost their lives, unaware of what was happening. 2. This story happened just a couple of minutes from where I grew up, and it has stayed with me ever since. Judy Kirby caused the deaths of 6 children and 1 adult by driving the wrong way on a divided highway in what was believed to be a suicide attempt. She had been treated for depression and was dealing with personal turmoil, including a breakup with her ex-husband's brother. Some reports suggested she was involved in substance trafficking and feared being arrested. On the day of the tragedy, she picked up her nephew, who was celebrating his 10th birthday, along with her 3 children. She claimed they were going to get a birthday gift, but instead, she disappeared with the kids. Not long after, 911 calls began pouring in about a car speeding the wrong way down the highway. Within 90 seconds, her car collided head-on with another vehicle carrying a father, his 2 children, and a young friend. The crash was devastating, leaving both cars completely destroyed. The only survivors were Kirby and 1 child from the other car. The aftermath was heartbreaking and unimaginable. Judy Kirby was sentenced to 215 years in prison for her actions. 3. I've shared this story before, but here it is again. My friend had a neighbor who was a retired mechanic. They lived on properties with big front lawns and long driveways. The neighbor had a couple of old, abandoned cars near his garage that he used for spare parts now and then. One day, the neighbor started hearing strange noises while sitting in his living room. The sounds seemed to be coming from the front yard, but every time he looked out the window, there was nothing there. He figured it was probably a raccoon or coyote. The noises kept happening, so he went outside to check but never found anything. He even set traps and occasionally caught some critters, but the sounds didn't stop. Then it got weirder. He started hearing whispering voices from the yard. He'd go out to investigate, walking the perimeter of his property, but again, nothing. It happened so often that he started calling the police. Each time they came out, they found nothing and eventually told him to stop calling. They suggested he get a security camera instead. The guy began to think he was losing his mind. One summer evening, unable to sleep, he went out to his back patio for a cigarette. While he was there, he suddenly heard voices again, this time from the front yard. He quickly put out his cigarette, snuck around the house, and arrived just in time to see the doors of one of his old vans silently close. Panicked, he ran back inside and called the police. The officers arrived quietly, without lights or sirens, and approached the van. As they got closer, the doors flew open, and a group of people bolted in all directions. When the police searched the van, they found syringes and other substance paraphernalia. It turned out the van had been a hangout spot for people using substances. 4. When my dad was a teenager, he and some friends got drunk and decided to go for a drive on back roads, pushing the truck as fast as it could go. My dad was a little less drunk than the others and eventually insisted they let him out. They pulled over, and he and 1 girl got out, deciding to walk to town while the other 3 sped off in the opposite direction. Not even a mile up the road, there was a sharp turn that the others missed. They hit a tree going close to triple-digit speeds, miles per hour. 2 of them died instantly. The only reason the 3rd survived the crash was because it happened right in front of a house where 2 doctors lived. Still, the survivor was paralyzed, lost a leg and part of an arm, and spent 8 months in the hospital before passing away. This was back in the 60s when medical care wasn't what it is today. When I got my learner's permit, my dad took me to that same corner to show me the spot and explain why driving safely is so important. It gave me goosebumps knowing how close he was to being in that truck. He also told me the driver's dad had the wrecked truck hung in the center of town for months as a warning to others. 5. John List unalived his entire family, his wife, mother, daughter, and 2 sons. He planned it all carefully, canceling deliveries, excusing the kids from school, and turning the air conditioning way down to preserve the bodies as long as possible. After the murders, he placed the bodies in sleeping bags and lined them up. He even wrote a letter to his pastor explaining why he did it. Then he disappeared. For 18 years, he wasn't heard from. During that time, he remarried, got the same kind of job as before, and joined a new church in Virginia. He didn't have any more kids. The crazy part is that because he planned it so well, the bodies weren't found until a month after the murders. That gave him a huge head start to create a new life. It took the FBI 18 years to track him down after someone sent in a tip. 6. Back in the day, there was this abandoned property that everyone at school claimed was haunted. My friends and I decided to check it out one night. The place sat on a few dozen acres, and there weren't any fences or no trespassing signs. All we had to do was take a dirt road about a mile to reach a hill overlooking the property. When we got there, it was clear the place was abandoned, but apparently, it still had an owner, and a caretaker. Out of nowhere, the caretaker drove a truck with the headlights off, sneaking right up to us before turning them on and trying to ram us. We barely managed to dodge him, but he didn't stop. He chased us off the property at 60 miles an hour, through a residential neighborhood, and kept trying to ram us off the road. We narrowly avoided hitting houses, parked cars, and even a church before he finally stopped and turned back. Yeah, we were technically trespassing, but there weren't any signs or barriers, and we were just on the edge of the property. The fact that he chased us so far off his land and seemed fine with trying to hurt, or worse, still gives me chills. It's wild how some people will justify their actions when they feel they're in the right.